welcome back to my channel. I am super excited for today's video. It is the final day in palette week, so every single day for the last 7 days I have been posting some sort of palette themed content, and today I am ranking for you the 15 palettes that I used throughout the month of March. So every single palette, some old palettes, some new palettes to my collection, but I'm ranking for them from my least favorite to my favorite that I used this month. I will say I had a very good palette month. It was very hard for me to rank some of these, and I think part of the reason I was struggling to rank some of these is because I've been having so much fun with just pops of color here and there, or pops of sparkle. So you'll see some of my just more tried and true neutral classic palettes, which are palettes that I love in my collection, are ranking lower because I was just having more fun with color or pops of color in March, and some of these palettes got ranked in January, also February. So really the only rule to this ranking is that I use the palette in March. So if you're interested in seeing how I would rank the palettes that I used throughout the month of March, stay tuned. First, if you have yet to subscribe to my channel and you like project panning content, palette themed content, or just chit-chatting about makeup, I'd love if you'd consider subscribing before moving on. And other than that, let's jump into the video. All right, I have been rearranging, so my bookshelf had to end up out here and it's behind me now. I pre-filmed maybe 2, maybe 3 videos, so if you're seeing the background switch back and forth, I apologize, and that's why. One of my pre-filmed videos is my Sephora VIB sale recommendations, and I don't think that's gonna go up for at least another 7 to 10 days. So just forewarning you there. Also, I know that today is the last day of palette week, but I do have palette themed content still on the horizon. There's some palette themed videos I'm super excited about. I'll be doing my quarterly palette usage video. My air just came on, so if you're hearing noise in the background, I apologize. I'll be doing my quarterly palette usage video where we talk about how many times I used each palette in my collection throughout the last 3 months. I don't feel like I'm gonna be that impressed with the total number of palettes that I've gotten used the last 3 months. Anyway, I am rambling. That is not what this video is about, and I need to get to work. I need to leave in 10 minutes. Okay. As mentioned, I really like every single one of the palettes that I used this month, and some of the palettes ranking lower are palettes that I do truly love and are favorites in my collection. This just was going off of my personal makeup, what I was feeling in March, but I still love pretty much every single palette that I'm ranking today. So coming in dead last at number 15 is my Nabla Cutie palette, my Nabla Cutie Nude. And this is a phenomenal palette, especially if you are looking for just a really easy, you don't have to think about it, neutral nude palette. Love this palette for that, but this doesn't give me any color, and I've been having lots of fun with color. I will say the shade Seducer does give a lot of sparkle, which I have also been into, but I just enjoyed using all the other palettes a little bit more than I enjoyed my Cutie Nude. Next up is my Pan That palette, and I think the reason this one is ranking number 14 is because I'm just getting a little bit burnt out with this palette. This is the palette I have on my eyes today. I just have used this a lot. Obviously, it's my Pan That palette, and I'm kind of getting not bored or not sick of it, but actually a little bit bored of it. A little bit bored. My goal in April is to use every single shade at least 4 times, and then I have 3 focus shades I want to use 10 times. But I'm thinking I want to take kind of a break-ish from this palette for the most part throughout the month of April, just to kind of have fun with spring colors. I just posted my spring palette rotation yesterday, and you'll notice that throughout that video there's a lot of color in that, in the palettes that I want to use for spring, and I'm just feeling I'm feeling colorful this year, not just in makeup but just in everything. So getting a little sick of the ABH Sultry. Coming in at number 13, I have the Glamlight and Scooby-Doo Rutro Raggy palette. This was a really fun palette, and I really enjoyed my time with this. The quality is really good, with the exception of I struggled with these 2 blue shades. I just wasn't getting the blend that I wanted from it, but aside from that, I really did enjoy this palette. Love the shimmers. I feel like Glamlight just absolutely kills it when it comes to their shimmer metallic foiled shades. I thought that these 3 mattes, the more greens, were also really good. I really like this pukey, just like this green shade. I'm like, how do I want to describe this color? I actually really enjoyed that. I'm excited to continue to reach into this palette, even if it's just for like the sparkly shades. But the only two shades that gave me a little bit of trouble were these two, but still loved this palette. I love Scooby-Doo. It really brings back some nostalgic memories for me. So coming in at number 12, I have the Pat McGrath Utopian palette. This is currently going in my No Pan Left Behind series. I haven't reached for this a ton. It's a nice palette, but it is kind of like, I don't want to say one-noted because it's not, because you have these like very fun, interesting, like special shades. But in terms of the mattes, I just haven't been super into the rosy tones. And so as I think through like creating a whole look with this palette, I just wasn't able to accomplish that. Still enjoy this palette, and I mentioned this on my channel many times. Pat McGrath palettes, I feel like I come to love more and more through time and through use. So that one ranks at number 12. Coming in at number 11, we have the Too Faced Born This Way neutrals, the natural nudes. Just a very beautiful, basic, can get you a range of looks sort of palette. I really enjoy this palette. This is a great one for travel because you do have neutrals, kind of rosy mauves, and then these warm browns, but you also have a variety of texture within your shimmer shades as well. It is a really versatile palette, and I was excited to pull this one back out, but not to sound like a broken record, just been more interested in color. So coming in at number 10, we have the Nabla Side by Side palette. Again, kind of same story. Really love the neutrals. You guys know I love Nabla. You know I love the Side by Side palette. I reached for Better Society, and this one was a little bit more crumbly than I remember it. So my goal is to continue to reach for this one a little bit more in April. Just because it's been a minute since I've like consistently reached for the Side by Side, but that currently would be my number 10 for March. Coming in at number 9, we have the ColourPop Winx Club Just Like Magic palette. I think I only reached for this like 2 or 3 times, but it's just such a fun, colorful palette. I can't remember, what did I reach into this for? It may have actually been these 2 matte shades and possibly one of these purples. I really want to reach into like these shades for the spring. I feel like those are very spring vibes. So this is another one. This is a newer palette to my collection. I'm still testing it. So you will likely see this in my April ranking as well, but this was my number 9 for March. Coming in at number 8, I have been loving my Rowan quads this year. And this is no exception, my Rowan 1111 quad. This pairs really nicely with my ABH Sultry palette. I love to layer this, or to lay this shade right here down as a base and then do the shade Rose Quartz over top of it. But also just all 4 shades. It's such a interesting, unique palette, and I just have really enjoyed that one. I'm really glad that I've been pulling my Rowan palettes out this year, as they are cream shadows too, so they will likely go bad more quickly, and I've gotten some good use out of them this year. Coming in at number 7, I have this little quad from LH Cosmetics, so Linda Hallberg Cosmetics. This is the Shimmer Saga palette, and this is such a fun little quad just to carry around or to have at your reach, at your beck and call, if you will, if you are looking to just spice up a look. Like if you're just wanting to take it up a notch and add some serious shimmer, I highly recommend this quad. It's also really beautiful for inner corner highlighting. I love my Kat Von D Alchemist palette for inner corner highlights, but this adds more sparkle than the Kat Von D. The Kat Von D shades are more of like a satin sort of shadow, whereas this is like straight up sparkle, which I'm just all about. And I don't want to say it's like more subdued sparkle because it gives you like an intense sparkle, but it's not like so metallic sparkly, if that makes any sense. I've been really enjoying the LH Cosmetics Shimmer Saga. Coming in at number 6, I have the Natasha Denona Mini Pastel palette. This was such a fun one, and I created a look using all 4 shades, which, looking at this palette when I first bought it, I never would have thought myself capable of creating a look using every single shade, but I had so much fun and I loved the way that the look turned out. Very spring-esque. I really kind of want to create that look and also continue to reach into this palette because this is a palette that I included in my spring palette rotation. Hint, hint. This green shade is just like, green has my heart right now. Like the color green just has my heart, and this shade of green is just Like, it is just it for me. But also these shimmer shades right here are just giving me like all the spring feels. So that was my number 6. Coming in at number 5, I have this one from Kaja. They actually just recently sent this over to me in a PR package. This is the Kaja Stack in Peach Madeleine. And okay, so right after this is going to be my ColourPop creamsicle quad, which is peach, and I paired the two together, and I was like, going into it, I was like, do I like coral looks anymore? Because like I've created a couple that I just wasn't feeling. So I was a little bit nervous about it, and then I created this look that I just absolutely loved, and it made me so excited to reach into all my coral palettes, even my Sassy Siennas from Dose of Colors, my Sigma Corderosa. Like, I'm so excited to create more coral looks for the spring and summer. But Peach Madeleine, okay, first of all, this shade right here, the top shade, is this chunky. It is chunky, but it's like this just really beautiful champagne metallic beautifulness, like all over the lid. Like, look how intense and metallic that is. That is so good. It feels almost like a chunky cream to the touch, but it's just, it's not uncomfortable in the eye. It doesn't like crease or cake on the eye. It's just so beautiful. I also love the second like shimmer shade. It has this really beautiful sparkle to it, and then you get a matte peach on the bottom, which I haven't used yet, but I do intend to. Really loved this off of first impression, so that would be my number 5. Then coming in at number 4 is my ColourPop Creamsicle Pressed Powder Palette. This was also going in my No Pan Left Behind. This, spoiler, will be rolling out because I did use all of the shades, but I'm so excited to continue to reach into this palette again throughout the spring and summer. I remember loving this palette, but I hadn't used it in quite some time, and then when I used it again, I was like, oh my gosh, like, yes, I love the looks that I can create with just these 4 shades. So this would be my number 4. Then coming in at number 3 is a neutral palette, and you guys know how much I love my Patrick Ta Major Dimension. Just such a staple palette, honestly, for like any makeup collection, in my opinion. It's just like the perfect warm brown palette. I love the different textures throughout the shades on top. You have some satins, you have some chunkier glitters, not glitters, some chunkier like metallic shades, and then I love the cream shadows. Like, I will be using these cream shadows all summer long, and just like the perfect mattes, in my opinion. They are so pigmented, but they blend so seamlessly, so I had to rank this one at number 3. And then coming in at number 2, I have my NARS Rising Orgasm palette. This is a newer palette to my collection. I have finished testing it. I will be doing like a ranking the 5 to 7 newest palettes that I've tried very shortly. So this one will be in that video. When I first received this, because I ordered this online, looking at it, I was like, this looks exactly like the NARS Summer Solstice palette, and so I started swatching it, and there is definitely like, this is very similar to the NARS Summer Solstice palette. So if you wanted the NARS Summer Solstice and you missed out, I do recommend picking this up. It's such good quality. I loved the NARS Summer Solstice, and I loved this as well. There are subtle differences throughout the palette, but the mattes blend so well together, and I absolutely love the like lid toppers. They're this really thin yet still very metallic formula. It's just so freaking pretty. There's this really beautiful kind of like satin metallic down here. It's such a good palette. I'm so happy to have this in my collection. I'm gonna be reaching for this all summer long. This summer solstice, they're gonna be competing with one another. So good. Get your hands on that if you can. If you like the color story, I mean, it's just the quality. It's so good. And then I've been talking about color all video long. So coming in at number 1, you guys, I'm so glad that I decided to pick this up. I wasn't going to, and then I watched Angie's, like, she did 2 looks when this palette first launched, and instantly I went online and ordered it because I loved the looks that she created. And I am so freaking happy to have this palette in my collection. I just absolutely love it. I created this like neon green and blue look with this palette. I even like this shade right here, Frazzled, is like a matte with shimmer in it. I even enjoyed, like, I love the lime green beautifulness of this. Love the shade Festive. Like, the greens in here knock it out of the park. I also really enjoy the coral like the corally orangey side, and then the shade Stunt Santa and Celebrate Moi. Like, this palette is so good. It's so good. Every ColourPop palette should be this quality because I have had so much fun with this. I'm still testing this palette. I've had this for quite some time, but still testing. I haven't used every single shade yet, and I definitely want to do that before I give any sort of final review, but I have thoroughly enjoyed my time using this palette, and this is my #1 palette for March. But after that, that is going to conclude today's video ranking all 15 palettes that I used throughout the month of March. Would love to know what were some of your favorite and least favorite palettes that you used last month. Are there any palettes you would love to see me use in April, or any palettes you are pulling out for April that you want to see or you think I should use as well? Let a girl know in the comments below. Thank you guys so much for sticking around to watch today's video and for all of your support throughout Palette Week. I love you guys so much, and I always get so excited to just read your comments about loving Palette Week and things like that. So just because it's not going to be Palette Week for another 3 months doesn't mean I won't be posting palette themed content. If there's any specific palette themed content or any other content you guys want to see from me, leave me your comments below. Other than that, thank you guys so much for sticking around to watch today's video. I love you so much, and I will catch you tomorrow in my Project Pan update. Bye.